Alright, after everything that's gone down this year, I'd like to think that my fellow Blunt fans will be joining me in, regardless of quality, thanking the movie gods that she's been put back on screen. When I kind of thought I was ending this thing in 2018 when Mary Poppins came out, we were talking about how the only thing that seemed to be on the radar afterwards was Jungle Cruise, which is still continuously getting pushed. It's almost a running joke at this point. Um, but we learned that A Quiet Place was going to come before that, even. But then, and this wasn't really much on the radar at all. Like, I don't even think she signed up for it yet. So, I really had no idea that this would be the next one I'd be talking about. And as far as, as far as this one goes, it is the idea that she took it after Holiday Granger had to back out of it for one reason or another, which seemed kind of odd because I don't want to like shit talk Holiday Granger or anything, but when you look at Blunt, who's like one of the best actresses ever, which is pretty much what I say when I want to actually say the best actress ever, and you see Holiday Granger, and I know I've seen at least a handful of movies with Holiday Granger in them, but I still can't quite match a face with her name, like even as I sit here. So I don't know if that says anything about the impressions she's left so far, but to think that an actress like Blunt would be picking up what she has dropped was just really weird to me. So it's like, this must be a really appealing script or something, and it's John Patrick Shanley, who he did, Doubt, and he won an Oscar for writing Moonstruck, which of course is amazing and romantic, but when you look at the rest of his writing credits, it's a bit of a roller coaster in quality. So it's and not exactly, for me personally, consistent. So I was a bit worried, and also worried that it was going to be a movie that starred Jamie Dornan. Like, there was just a whole bunch of question marks of what the hell drew her to this exactly. Because I mean, Jamie Dornan's one of those people where I don't really, hate him, and I don't hate him just because of the, 50 Shades thing. Like, it's not one of those cases of people that hated on Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart just for being in Twilight, but I just don't think he has much screen presence at all, and it was like, I just immediately imagined her having to carry him on her back like a sack of bricks through this whole thing as soon as I saw that they were co-stars and, like, romantic interests in it. And that's and the fact that she has like all the screen presence in the world. It's There was a lot going into this that made me really unsure of how it would go down, but at the same time, it is like there's really just no way I'm gonna hate a movie that she's the star of. Like, it's just something that wouldn't happen. If anything, if I would hate anything she's the star of, it'd probably be like the 5 Year Engagement. But she's just so good in it that I often forget that I hate that movie. So it was like, if this happens to be sort of subpar quality, maybe that'll be the case. And of course, like, advertising started coming out and people started criticizing it immediately because the actors were talking like they were, auditioning for Warwick Davis's old job, which I can get that, especially if you're like from there. But the whole accents thing isn't something that I've ever really gotten hung up on. So yeah, but when it starts, we do have the really nice scenery, which you get like the scenery and like the storybook look that it kind of has makes me think that pretty much the only reason we even have to worry about the accents in the first place is because Chandler just wanted to shoot the movie here because he thought it would look really great. And that does translate quite well as far as its appearance. And we get the unmistakable voice of Christopher Walken narrating to us, narrating from the grave. I think that's kind of up in the air, but when we actually see him physically, and he has scenes with Jamie Dornan, he does have like they've settled him with a lot of exposition, and like it's the case where a lot of Walken's dialogue in like the first 10 or 15 minutes is just him explaining things that the people he's talking to would already know because he's basically explaining their own lives to them. It's that kind of dialogue to start off with, which is kind of off-putting at the start, but we also pretty quickly get Blunt's entrance, which is her riding off on a horse to the sounds of Swan Lake, which is, like, regardless of anything, regardless of the kind of movie, even if, you know, tonally it seems kind of weird at the start of the movie, even though it has a purpose later, she really does know how to make an entrance in a movie, and that's really... So that was a really good start anyway, so it was like, yeah, I feel like no matter what happens here, as long as she's the star of this, it'll be fine, at least to an extent. As far as she can make it good, will be about where it lands. And as far as the accent thing goes, I do think it's more of actually, you can almost confirm it's really because the thing about it is it's not necessarily you can say, oh, that actor or actress has a terrible Irish accent in this movie. It's all of them. So the thing is it's not necessarily coming from the actors themselves so much as their direction from behind the camera. And I think I heard something, it was like in response to the backlash, where Shanley had said something like, he was trying to make the Irish accent sound more like as far as like widespread audiences that aren't from there, if they did the accents accurately, nobody would understand what they were saying. And I guess I can get that, but it also kind of sounds like damage control at the same time. It's kind of hard to say, but like I said, I'm not somebody that gets that hung up on accents, so it was, you know, whatever. But as far as like chemistry goes, between her and Dornan, which I had worries about as soon as I saw like the full cast list. Yeah, there is. Like I said, it's really just a balance of somebody that has so much presence and somebody that just kind of really doesn't have any. And there's even moments, like, there's even cuts in the movie that show the vast difference. Where it's like, there's a moment when she's talking to her mom, and she, like, appears in the window, and she's, like she's feeling, like, really sly because she saw Christopher Walken's car somewhere. And there's just something really effortlessly charming about her. And then we see that effortless charm from her, and it immediately cuts to a shot of Jamie Dornan sitting at a bar, and you can almost physically feel the screen presence leave. Like, as soon as it cuts from her to him, you can just see the, like, anything that was there just vanishes immediately. And I hate to do that, like, because it does sound harsh, and it's, well, like, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but he won't see this, so fuck it. We'll just say whatever. But another thing here is that, like, while she has to carry him, it is also a case of, we were talking about how much does the accent bring everything down, but it's like, she works so well kind of in spite of it, where, like, she does everything else so well, like, that, like, when she's not on screen, her absence is felt when it's cutting to somebody like, you know, Jamie Dornan or whoever side character we're looking at. But there's also a couple of moments where she sings, which is always extremely pleasant, which she doesn't seem to be doing in the accent, which, even if that kind of says fuck consistency, it probably still was the better call anyway, especially since, you know, in real life she has, like, this, she's terrified of singing in public, so that's fine. So those scenes in particular are really nice also, and she has that, she really gets to show off that gaze she has that I mentioned before, where it's like, there are multiple movies, like Your Sister's Sister's usually the first one that comes to mind, where she can just kind of look off, and you can see, like, every single emotion that she has, like, all at once, in just one look that she can give. And Shanley had the good sense to use that as well as he could. To the point that she even gets, surely this was almost kind of a full circle thing. I think she's mentioned in a number of interviews that Pretty Woman was kind of an influential movie in her life, like early in her life, and she actually gets the Julia Roberts at the opera scene, but it's a ballet, but I kind of got that same vibe, and that's the part of the story, the very, very, very underdeveloped side of the story with John Hamm, where John Hamm's like the American cousin of Jamie Dornan, and he's trying to buy her land, which is a plot thread they really build up that just honestly goes absolutely nowhere. It's almost like the movie forgot about it, to the point that it's the way it's resolved is even it's like they just gave up on it. I don't know, but But what's weird about that also is even though that's the more underdeveloped plot, and she has significantly less screen time with John Hamm than she does Dornan, the chemistry with John Hamm is a lot more present, which is also weird to say because it doesn't really make sense that they have chemistry because he's like number one he's the enemy because he wants to buy the land, but even though it's established immediately who the other is and they know of this sort of I guess rivalry they're supposed to have because of this dispute or whatever, pretty much as soon as they see each other there's some weird like they seem to take to each other immediately to the point where I was trying to figure out if she was like playing him or not, like building him up in a way to where she could like trick him into not wanting to buy the land, but it's there's not really enough material in this storyline to even know if that was any intention whatsoever. But still, I think it says something about her chemistry with Dorn and the fact that it's so front and center and it's so emotionally based on those two characters that she seems to have more chemistry with this side character. Despite the fact that it makes no sense that she not only does it not make any sense that she does have chemistry with him, but that she does almost instantaneously in some weird way. I don't know. There's a lot of kind of general weirdness in this movie. There is it seems to be trying to be a comedy in the forefront in some cases, like really out of place comedy, like pratfalls. Like Jamie Dornan falls over comedically more than once in this movie, and it's very bizarre. To the point that there's even the moment when this is the weird scene where she's weirdly attached to John Hamm early on. They seem attracted to each other, where she happens to look ahead, and Jamie Dornan does a comedy pratfall, and we get a reaction shot of her, and it almost looks like blunt breaking character saying, "Was that a fucking comedy pratfall just now? Like in this? Like what do we make?" I don't know. I don't know that anybody knew what they were making. I'm not even totally positive Shanley knew what he was making. Especially when it gets later, and it's sort of like we were talking about the scenery and how great it looks. The main problem with that is that the play roots that it comes from, because it was adapted from I think Shanley's own play, and there's that contrast. Usually, I don't really care if a movie feels like a play. Sometimes it can be really cool, especially if it's a chamber piece. But here, there's like a massive contrast where like the more the massive scenery looks great, like the exteriors, the more the sort of interior stuff feels like it's literally a play that really hasn't had much of an adaptation to it. And it's those play origins become much more noticeable as it goes. But that's hardly the problem with this. Now you would think, and this is another case where you can tell the chemistry's missing, and she definitely needed a much more talented actor to go up against her, you know, endless talent, is that this is just Blunt and another actor in a very long scene that's just dialogue. And it's like, if she had somebody that was as close to her talent as they could get, this could have been amazing. Like that, like just the thought of that, just her and one other actor and just acting the shit out of everything, would have been great. But not only is the chemistry not there, the dialogue itself is really bizarre. And it's this whole thing where it's like, it gets so weird. It's like you have no idea what the next thing she says is going to be and how weird it's going to be, which could be exciting, but then just as you kind of start to wonder that and you start to realize, what the hell is she going to say next? He drops a bomb on us that I don't really know how to describe this because the movie doesn't really. Jamie Dornan's character literally thinks he's a bee, and that's why he's been so distant with her, I guess. And this is the thing. Like, it was already getting weird before he said that. So, I don't know. But, that's, and at the same time, like, in the same scene, the editing starts to get weirder. because there's this whole other thing of John Hamm on a plane where he's maybe or maybe not going to buy this land. The movie doesn't care, apparently. But like when this should be building, this should be one big thing. Like this should be one big scene that's just two actors, having dialogue, and we just keep randomly cutting back, like in the most random places, to John Hamm just hanging out on the plane. And it's, I don't know. I guess it's because the the person that John Hamm is talking to seems to, I don't know, be his gateway to get away from the land plot, and the only reason we're trying to get away from the land plot is because the movie's ready to end, I guess. I don't know. It's really weird. I felt like I was missing shit, but it's all seemed pretty straightforward, so I don't know. I really don't know. But obviously, like I said, even if, you're all about the accents being terrible or whatever, every other thing Blunt is doing is pretty much right on. It's when you think about the fact that she was like practically handicapped by this weird dialogue, it's like everything is there. Like she's doing everything right. Anything that's going to be going wrong is clearly coming from the script or the direction or something, or the fact that she has a co-star that just cannot match her at all. And yes, I am totally aware this could just be fanboyism speaking, but I just really sincerely believe she is just on such another level. And that's not just the other people in the movie, that's, all of her peers. So, I don't know. But, yeah, obviously most people are just going to go on and on and on and on about the accents, and I do get also that the whole idea of it being, like, seeming stereotypical, I can definitely see that. Being an issue, like to the point of anytime somebody takes a plane to or from Ireland, the plane has a shamrock on it. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but if that's like real, but I wouldn't put it past this movie to have added that to say, hey, it's in Ireland. It's either going to Ireland or from Ireland. But I don't know, but yeah, so. I mean, she's going to give it much more life than it probably deserves. And like I said, even with her involvement, this was something that I was really unsure about. Like, as soon as I saw her casting news, it was like, I really hope that she, like, finds something that interests her more, and she has, like, either she drops it for that, or she has a scheduling conflict with something else, or something. But then once the first still came out of them in the rain, it was like, oh, well, I guess this is our next one then. But yeah, obviously when this news was coming out, I was under the impression that A Quiet Place 2 and Jungle Cruise were going to be out long before this. Like, I literally can't believe I have seen this before those other two. But maybe it's we'll kind of sweep this to the side and wait for the really good stuff. I can't believe we were like a week and a half away from A Quiet Place 2 when all this happened. It was like the reviews had come out. They were comparing Krasinski to Spielberg, and they were just raving about it. And it's like, I knew the showtime. Like, the showtime I was going to go to for A Quiet Place 2 had been posted. That's how close it was. And it's been, like, torture just waiting for something else with her to come out. So I think also since we ended this, there's been talk of that series that she may or may not be doing that's called The English, I think it is. And there's that Not Fade Away thing where she's playing a real-life character that's been seemingly in development forever. Like, I don't even know if that's even still going to exist or not. But, so it seems like once we're kind of getting back to normal, we'll kind of start seeing, and I know they just announced that Fantastic Four is officially coming to the MCU with the Spider-Man director, and I know everybody, like her entire fan base wants her to be in it as Sue Storm, but it's like, while I love those MCU movies, she needs much more to, like, work with. Like, people were talking about how they wish she was Black Widow, but it's like, if she had played Black Widow, there's so many great parts she's had that she would have had to have missed out on. There's like, I can think of three off the top of my head, and they all came out the same year as the first Avengers movie did. And it's like, to think that she may not have been in any of those, because you just have to commit to those movies over and over and over again. And she's got so much more to offer than that, I think. So I don't know, but that's pretty much where I stand with this, I think. So I would like to think there's a couple of white whales of hers that I had trouble finding when I was doing this a couple of years ago with the Henry VIII miniseries with Ray Winstone and the Strange Case of Sherlock Holmes and Arthur Conan Doyle, which is streaming on Amazon, which otherwise it's pretty much unfindable. So I might try to look into those and kind of get my fix with that until some of her newer stuff is coming out. She's also doing that ball and chain thing with Dwayne Johnson, so which is supposed to be a superhero thing. So maybe doing that'll drive her away from doing like Marvel stuff. So I know that's sacrilege to her fan base to say you don't want her in Marvel stuff, but she's there's just so much other great stuff she could be doing. So that's my hopes for that. And like I said, she carried this as well as she could have, which is all we could have asked for. So that's great. So until the next thing, I think that's going to be it for this.